It's time for random build time! Alright, in this video, I'm gonna put a calico jack together with some random parts and see what kind of results we get. Alright guys, here we are. Most of these parts that I'm showing here are used and they were out of my bin. I got this random type bore barrel, I'm not sure what brand it is. I'm going to be putting a Jeftron Leviathan optical in this guy. Trigger that I found for it. We got this nozzle here. This is out an APS M4. This is the cylinder head. It's beveled here to accommodate the piston head, which we are going with a used SEMA silenced piston head with an O-ring that I typically put in tune-ups that I do for customers. And we have an Aztech piston with an SHS full metal rack. We're using the stock spring guide. I have a chromium cylinder with a port in here. We're going with this ported cylinder because of the length of the barrel that we're going to be using. We want to try to balance out the volume air ratio as much as possible. I'm going to be using a stock spring, a retro arms delayer chip. Warhead brushless motor. This spur gear right here is out of an SR25. And these other two SH gears were just laying in a bin. We're using the stock solid bushings and bevel 8mm bearing out of these this gearbox. Crytek hop-up unit. Advanced R-hop arm, the maple leaf 70-degree MR hop bucking, and then I found this clip right here to fit the best. The selector plate that already has the sticker put on it for a Double Eagle M4. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna radius the gearboxes and get all the grinding bits out of the way. If you're gonna radius a gearbox, make sure you go all the way across both on top and bottom. That being said, whenever I go to install a electronic trigger unit, I always check for fitment. Reason being is because sometimes you'll get your gearbox all nice and cleaned up and you're ready to go, and you get to the point where you're gonna go put the part in and there's another part that you gotta grind up. In this case we do. When I try to put this Leviathan in, that pillar here is raised and it doesn't go through the opening of this MOSFET here. So what I'm gonna have to do is take my Dremel and Dremel that nice and flat. And now our Jeftron will fit nice and flat. The more you got this centered with the center of the bushing here, the more that this MOSFET is going to operate properly. If you're having issues with it lining up, it's usually because this pillar right here might be in the way. You don't want to shave this off completely, but you can trim it and yeah, go from there. So I think we are good to go as far as the MOSFET goes. Oh, and one other thing I had to do, I had to trim the piston rails on both sides of the gearbox. When you tilt it, the piston should just fall right down. Before I did that modification on the rails, that didn't happen. It just held on to the piston. Off camera, shimmed up the gearbox. That's a long process that I don't want to put you guys through. I had to edge the piston here and on here, all because on the back of the gearbox here, it's raised right there instead of this going completely to the back like normal. I also had to shave off a tooth on the sector gear itself on the pickup side right here. And that was because if I left that tooth there, there would be a gearbox lockup. I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling the gearbox. I believe all the modifications have been done. So starting off, I'm gonna go ahead and put the MOSFET in and go from there. Real quick, I'm gonna have to modify this screw right here because when you put these MOSFETs in and have to shave down that pillar that we did previously in the video, now the screw sticks up a little bit and that's gonna rub on the selector plate. Yep. So I'm gonna put that screw on the sand belt and then reinstall it. Where are you? And now. You know you want to. Come in. So a little trick here. I always get this straight up and down. Start pressing it down with my thumb. And then when it comes to this gear, you want that nub right there facing down. That way you know your selector switches are going to line up when you put the gearbox all together. So yeah. Perfect. Because once the gearbox is in the lower receiver, the lower receiver will hold them in, so you don't need to worry about them. When you go to put your center pin in, look through the little hole right here where it goes through and make sure there's no wires that are going to get caught by the pin. Don't want to forget the mainspring. Perfect. Now we can test fire it before we move on to the next part of this video. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the video, submit to the YouTube algorithm gods and like and subscribe to this channel. It'll help out this channel grow, and greatly appreciate it. So anyways, let's see how she sounds. Not bad. It's pretty damn quick. All right, so we're gonna move on and get this barrel here nice and cut. I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just basically mocking this up for the cut. Because what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this barrel assembly in the upper receiver and see how far the barrel sticks out. So to do this right, I'm gonna have to take this muzzle off, and that's real simple. All I gotta do is just take my little wrench right here, loosen up the set screw, and it should be clockwise. Tap against there, and so then what I'm gonna do, now I'm going to push this pop-up unit forward as if the upper receiver was attached to the rest of the airsoft gun. While I'm pushing forward, I'm going to go ahead and mark where the barrel will end on the threaded end. The reason why I take that muzzle off is just in case somebody wants to put a tracer unit on this thing, the barrel won't impede on the tracer unit, because if the barrel is inside the tracer unit will not work. All right, we're gonna go to my lathe and cut this barrel. I'm gonna recrown the barrel, and so this is what I use. I use this guy. I use this bevel edge right here to get a good, nice crowning of the end of the barrel. The crowning helps evenly distribute the air as the BB exits the barrel. There we go. That's much better. I'm going to deburr the corner here, and then I think we'll be good. Nice and clean. Okay, now let's see how she fits. All right, let's see. Right at the end, look at that. That's almost perfect. So we can put the receiver on and get the chronoing. So first off, we're gonna do our amperage test to see how much juice gets pulled out of the battery on every shot. If you guys want one of these batteries that I use, these are very reliable batteries. I personally use them and sell them at my store. They're on the wishtech.com. Links will be in the description. Moving on, let's see how many amperage we get on semi. 8.9 amps 8.9, 8.9, 8.9, 8.9, 8.9 amps. So far, so good. Everything is running really well. So since we're running brushless motor, the amperage is going to go up. It always happens, no matter how I do it. And I think it's just the nature of the fact that it's an AC alternating current motor instead of a direct current motor like the brush motors that you typically get in these airsoft guns. But anyways, here we go. 13.7 amps on full auto. So I think part of the reason why those amperage is so low is because, well, one, it's a brushless motor. And two, I'm pretty sure it's this got a, I want to say a 350 feet per second spring. So that being said, put down in the comments of what you think the FPS is going to be. Without cheating, don't skip ahead. Don't wait until the video gets to that point of the chrono results. But write down in the comments how much FPS you think this is going to get before you see the results. All right, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and put this together and we'll test it out. We're going to be testing with 0.2 gram BBs and see what happens. Oh, something sounds a little gross. Okay, we're going to go back to the table and figure out why it's making that nasty noise. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but things are not looking right, so I'm going to go take this thing apart and inspect to see what the hell's going on. Just backed off this motor height adjustment screw a little bit, and it sounds much better. So I guess the motor was just tied in just a little bit too much, so I just backed off. So yeah, let's go back to the chrono and see what kind of results we get. All right, so here we go. So I'm gonna take this back to the table and just to double check everything and see how everything's going. But I think the FPS is a little low, so something's going on. All right, so I got the gearbox all apart to inspect everything, and what happened was exactly what I was afraid was happening. Premature engagement. Take a look inside this piston. Oh yeah, she was messing up for sure, and I'm pretty damn sure the culprit is this weak at spring and the combination of how fast this gearbox was cycling, because that was a 35K motor and we might have been running a little bit too light of the spring. I'm just gonna throw in a brand new Aztech piston in, because I got a feeling that this one was already compromised since it came out of my bin. I wasn't sure why I had it in there, so I'm just gonna put another one together and try again, but with a stronger spring. All right, I found a different spring and hopefully we get a better result. Semi-auto, here we go, 10 shots. Okay, back to the bench. Gotta open this thing up because I don't know if you guys heard it in the video. Right at the end of that chrono, we experienced some mechanical failure. So I'm gonna open this up and see what happened this time. All right, the gears are good, piston's good, everything's good. The one thing I did notice though is that the spur gear here was up a little too high. The evidence was the grease was wiped away on the edges of the spur gear here, and it was making contact with the bevel gear, so I shimmed it a little bit further down, and I also took some material off of this side of the gearbox so that I can rotate the Jeftron Leviathan a little bit better so that those sensors were more lined up with the cam off of this gear right here, so the cycling would be more accurate. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and throw this together and we'll do some testing. Hopefully we get it right this time. Okay, so I changed out the battery because the one I had was dying, so we're using this battery for right now, but we'll go back to the other one later. This is just to test it. So I got it all back together and we're gonna go ahead and chrono it. Okay, I think that 420 FPS was a miscalculation by the chrono, but we're averaging 339 FPS. So yeah, FPS consistency isn't really
all that great, and I think that's because of nozzle alignment. I checked that a little bit ago, but so far so good. We're cycling pretty smooth. And let's go ahead and shoot full auto and see what we get. Okay, something going on. She don't like shooting full auto, so I gotta look into that now. Okay, so I'm gonna check a few things and see what's going on. Okay guys, so I figured out what was going on. This bucking that we had installed, this is an MR hop 50-degree silicon bucking. So I put a non-silicon version of it, 60-degree, and the issues vanished. There you go. It was the bucking the whole time. So the little discrepancy in the FPS is because the hop-up's getting, my chrono box getting full of BBs. But anyways, let's talk about what happened. Okay, so we had a bunch of issues, or a few issues along the way, and yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty good CQB gun. It's definitely much better than the factory Double Eagle, since we got a Jeftron Leviathan in it. And some of the parts that we threw in this gun were brand new, but I didn't have any bin or boneyard of those versions available. Like, for example, this guy right here. I'm going to be installing this later and putting that in the hop-up. I'm going to assemble this Airsoft gun the rest of the way together along with this hop-up arm. And this will be going to a friend of mine, Sleazy Company. And he is going to do a gameplay test of this thing. So if you want to check out his channel and the video later down the road, be sure to subscribe to his channel, as well as Aztech Airsoft. All the links that you'll need will be down in the description below, as well as I'll try to link as many parts used in this build as possible. But yeah, we're shooting about 25 rounds a second and about 330 FPS on average. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good CQB gun to start with. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Help the channel grow and allow me to make more content like this for you guys. See you on the next one.